Welcome back to Cyber and Tech with Dre. This is part two of the two-part video about hacking tools and how your information can be found online. If you're here, that means you found value in the first video, and I appreciate it. Just keep watching as I will continue to talk about some more tools. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, click the like button and the notification bell so when I put more content like this, then you'll be notified. Thank you again for watching. Stay tuned. The Hunter.io is another platform that allows you to search for email addresses under a particular domain. And if you sign up, you get like 50 searches for the month. So let's try Indeed.com. And here it pops up Indeed. It says 91 results. And if you click on Indeed here, enter, and you can see here all of the different addresses here. Senior marketing manager, all of these people here. And this is just one. There are several out there that you could use to look for emails. Now, all that the attacker would need to do is simply get these email addresses and automate it. And what they'll do is put the payloads in there and have the phishing campaign going. And it's that easy, guys. So we're going to move on to something else here. I'm just giving you a peek into the things that I'm learning, and also to show you that it's not that difficult to get this kind of information that could lead to a breach or a compromise in your network. This site here called the Dhash, and this is very interesting because what this is a site that has breached password hashes. So if you put a query in and that password hash is in there, it's going to show up. Now, what do hackers do with this? So more than likely, if your password has been used involved in a breach, meaning that it was cracked, usually they would put it on this database here. And this is very useful because of the human element. People, they don't like to go through too much difficulty and hardship to remember all sorts of different password combinations, because everything nowadays requires a different password. Now, what happens is that you might have a password that you used to use, and let's say you had password 1234. You want to make it less difficult for you, so you would put password 4321. So what happens is, let's say password 1234 was involved in a breach. Now you've changed that password, but this password 1234 is left in the dehashed database. Now, what the hacker does with this is take it and do different variations for this, because they are aware that users, they don't want to make things more difficult for themselves. And to be honest, it's not very easy to come up with new passwords every 90 days. And with all of these requirements for the password, it becomes a lot more difficult. But there are controls that you can put in place to help with this. So the next place I'm gonna go over to another one called Email Hippo. And this is a platform that verifies email addresses. So when you collect these email addresses, you want to make sure that you have valid email addresses, because you don't want to waste your time. So what they would do here is put that email address in, and then you'd find out if that email address is valid. And this is pretty good. So what we can do is go back into, let's do a new tab and go back to let's go back to our hunter.io. And we can see here if the email addresses that we found previously. We're going to use one, see if how valid it is. So let's look at this one. First one here that says Marina Antini, and she's a senior manager. Let's grab this, copy this, and we just need to paste it in here and hit go. Alright, and there's also the option here to copy to clipboard or export to Excel or to a PDF. And the result showed that this was okay, meaning that this email will be valid. And this can also be automated as well, where you could put a bunch of the email addresses in and then you'd automate the verification of these emails. Alright, so we're gonna move back to the command line and then we can wrap this up. So before we move on to the command line, I just wanted to give you a tip. So Have I Been Pwned is another site that you could go to check if your email has been compromised. And all you need to do is to type the email address in here. So let us put that email address, mfantini, here to see if it was involved in a compromise. So right away it shows that this email address has not been pwned, and that is good news. Alright, so that's a tip that you could use. You could put your email address in there, and if you find that it has been pwned, what you can do is just go back, change your email passwords, and use multi-factor authentication for your email address. So let's go back over to the command line and see what else can be done. Now, remember when we did the NSLOOKUP and we found the IP addresses. Now, what can be done here? You can do a simple Nmap scan for the IP addresses here, and what this will do is show you, well, based on what you put in, but what I'm going to put in is going to show me the ports that are open, and from there what would be done is you would then go and look for the vulnerabilities that exist for that particular port, just as how you would go and look at the applications or the architecture that's used on a particular site. Look for the vulnerabilities. It's the same thing that the attacker would do. Look for the ports and then look for the vulnerabilities and see which ones they can exploit. So let's go. Let's see what we can do here. So should we make this a little bigger? So let's see, Nmap. So the Nmap is a tool that we can use here. And if we put this IP address in, so I'm using this IP address here, or let's use another IP address. Let's use 168.168.136.2. Or what you could also do is do .0 and /24. Now what this will do, this will look for the whole network. Now let's wait for this scan. Now you could pause and do something else because this might take a little bit of time. I'm going to wait, and then when we come back you will see what the results are. The previous scan that I put in was taking too long, and it seemed as if the controls that they had in place was very effective. So what I did was switch to another IP address that I found on there from the NSLookup, and I did the general scan, and this is what came up, because I just want to get proof of concept here. So what you see here are some open ports that are available for this particular IP address, and typically what a hacker would do, or a pen tester would do, since they know that these ports are open, you can look up different vulnerabilities. So port 80 is HTTP. So what you can do is look up HTTP exploits on GitHub. Alright, so let's go to GitHub, and as you can see here, they're already showing some different types of exploits here. There's a web server exploit here, and all of this can be copied and looked at to use in an active exploit. Let's see, port 443 is also HTTPS, which is the secure protocol, or the secure version for HTTP. And the same thing, if you look it up, you'll also see there are exploits available here. A whole database is there, and if you go on there, you can find all of the instructions and what you need to do. So also in the command line, there is Metasploit that you could also use. So let's go to Metasploit. So to get to Metasploit, which is something that you would install on your command line for the Kali. So let's go to Metasploit. To do this, you have to do MSF console, and let's wait and see what's gonna happen. So the Metasploit is also a tool that has several different exploits in there. So when we get to this, what's gonna happen is a search for whatever exploit you want, and then it will show you the different options there. So now we're in Metasploit, and if I put in search, let's see, HTTP. All right, look at the amount of exploits that are in here. So based on the other information that you would have gathered, you would definitely choose the type of exploit that you would want to use. So say for example, let's see, SOAP upload. Let's see here what we can use. So I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. There are so many different types of exploits that are available here. There are reverse shell, and these you would definitely have to have some background knowledge to know what exactly some of these mean. But these are basically payloads that are here that you could use when you're building your exploit. So say for example you wanted to use one of these. Each of these come with a number, and you would just put that option in for the one that you would want to use. Alright, I'm scrolling up because I'm looking for something that I'm familiar with. Let's see. Alright, so this one here, buffer overflow. So let's say for example you want to use one that's number 3. Use 3. right? So this would be the payload that would come up, and then what you do is type in options, and you'll see the different items that you'd have to put in. Now that we've gone through some of the ways that hackers can get information, I just want to say there are certain things that you can do to make it a bit harder for them, especially with your email. Now, once you go on and you check on have I been pawned, and you'll see that your email was involved, as I said earlier, you can use multi-factor authentication. Another thing that you can do is avoid clicking on suspicious links. Once you do not trust that link, just report it as spam. Or you can also click on that drop down bar to see the header. Now, let's say for example it came from Capital One Bank or some other bank that you would normally trust. It's supposed to say Capital One when you hit on that header. A lot of times if you look at how spam emails are set up, you notice that they're very confusing headers there, which has nothing to do with the initial sender that appeared on the email, right? So multi-factor authentication is a big one to use, and just try to do your research and keep up to date with what's going on, because as much as it might seem to be far from your life, it might definitely affect you. So just keep aware and you will be on the right path, because none of us are, this can happen to any one of us. As much as you'll see people in cybersecurity that are aware of what's going on, they still become victims. So it just shows you that it's important for you to make sure that you take all the steps that you can to make it at least harder for anyone that's trying to go into your device. So that's it from me, and just tune in when you can. If you like this video and if it was useful to you, click on that like button, click on the subscription button if you haven't already subscribed, and share the video as much as you can. I look forward to bringing more content to you. Thank you again for viewing.